The 13th Street Repertory Company, nestled on the ground floor of this West Village brownstone, has been in business for some 35 years. For 33 of those years, it has been presenting Israel Horowitz's line, as well as developing plays and presenting children's theater. And speaking of children, in full disclosure, I celebrated my 5th birthday at the location. Of late, it has been premiering some recently unearthed Tennessee Williams one-act plays.
He had enormous numbers of boxes, and two researchers were going through it, and they found 11 full one-act plays that had never seen the light of day for the public.
Pieces of Paradise is playing Monday and Tuesday nights in an unlimited run to benefit the 13th Street Rep, which is struggling to pay legal bills to fend off real estate developers who want to tear the 200-year-old building down and replace it with a high-rise condo. While the fate of the 13th Street Repertory Theater is still unknown, the founder and proprietor, Edith O'Hara, is doing everything in her power to save one of Greenwich Village's most historic treasures.
I just grew up in a different frame of mind, and that is I won't give up. And I had my 90th birthday last week. It just, I could get a lot of money. But what would that mean? The theater is my life.
O'Hara has many personal stories to tell about the theater, but one about Mr. Williams is particularly telling.
And he was quoted as saying he felt the future of theater lay in the small theaters, and he liked the off-Broadway people.
But the talking may be over in this court battle with the posting of the latest eviction notice.
The theater myself had 50% and the other one 50%. So it didn't turn out well with that investor. His whole idea was what is happening right now. He wanted to convince me we should sell and we could make a lot of money and they'd build me a nice new theater. But I didn't want that. I love this historic building.
The curtain has yet to come down on the theater's final act. For more information on the theater, you can log on to www.13thstreetrep.org. Clover Lalehzar, New York 1. These are exciting times for the Metropolitan Opera. A new general manager, Peter Gelb, new productions of classic works, and now a landmark commission, the world premiere of Chinese composer Tan Dun's epic opera, The First Emperor. Almost a decade after he first conceived this vast work, it will debut Thursday evening on the world's greatest opera stage, starring perhaps the world's greatest tenor, Plácido Domingo, in the title role. Although Domingo has sung and conducted at the Met for nearly 40 years, this is his first world premiere at the famed house.
So to do a world premiere and with a composer like Tan Dun, which is, so theatrical and wonderful, and with all the colors of the orchestration and a wonderful libretto and a character like the First Emperor, I think is very thrilling.
Tan Dun wrote the opera with Domingo in mind, and although the star sings in English, the musical landscape of the opera is musically inspired by both East and West.
It has the musical ideas there. He's very much writing a Chinese opera. I mean, it's melodic, but he's writing with all the, as I said before, with all the orchestration of the colors. Then there are very, very, very much Oriental.
Tan Dun is only the 6th composer in the Met's history to conduct his own opera. It tells the story of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, who brutally but efficiently unified ancient China in the 3rd century and started construction on the Great Wall. The work is by no means a traditional Western opera. It marries both cultures and many generations.
He especially likes very much the vocalizing of the words. So it is sometimes, if you will speak, you will say it, you, my brother, and so you have to say sometimes, you, my brother, so that takes a big concentration to fit really the vocalizing where you change the words and so on. So it is, we have been working very, very hard.
And it takes a pro like Plácido Domingo to make the hard seem effortless. At the Metropolitan Opera, Clover Lalehzar, New York 1. Reason for the big move was to make room for another Disney show, the British import Mary Poppins. During the 6-month construction project at the Minskoff, which provided for new lobbies, promenade, as well as a new set, the Lion King continued to perform at its original home. The Nederlander organization, which has a long-running relationship with many of Disney's hit Broadway shows, footed the pricey renovation. Vice President of the Nederlander organization, Jim Bowes, explains.
There was no downtime. I mean, the amount of construction time needed in order to create this new vision, this new interpretation of this space, really took every moment available for us from when Fiddler on the Roof closed to the first performance of The Lion King, which was really only about a span of 5 or 6 months.
And on the Great White Way, where time is money, The Lion King is a big moneymaker. The Minskoff, originally conceived as the theater in the sky because it is perched on the lower levels of a huge office building, was virtually unchanged since it was built in the early 70s. The lobbies and outside promenade bore most of the renovation. The theater itself was only slightly altered, with 2 murals added on the sides of the stage. Designer Mariuka Brankovinu sees the Minskoff project as a coming together of old and new.
We just wanted to enhance the original intent of the architect and create a very dignified, a very majestic space. So once you go up these stairs, the main entry stairs, and you take in the hubbub of the street and the explosion of Broadway, you need to turn down and find your bearings, and it was nothing before. It was just white.
Now the interior lobbies and promenade bring to mind earthy tones of red and gold, as well as a very regal and grand feeling that also boasts panoramic views of Times Square. So it's no matter if the Minskoff is a little smaller than the previous one. While the New Amsterdam is a larger theater by about 200 seats, the Minskoff offers higher priced seating in the orchestra, which in the end means that weekly grosses are about the same. In fact, The Lion King has even surpassed its own weekly box office record at the Minskoff. So it seems that a new environment can only make the grass a little greener. Clover Lalehzar, New York 1. There was no doubting the success of playwright and Bronx native John Patrick Shanley's new play, Doubt. Winner of this year's Pulitzer Prize for Drama, it was the front runner for this season's theater accolades since it opened off-Broadway last fall, reopening on Broadway at the Walter Kerr Theater March 31st to similar flattering reviews. Doubt marks the playwright's Broadway debut.
I feel great. You know, the Pulitzer Prize has a terrific ring to it, and I think of it as a celebration of American playwriting, and that's a party that I'm happy to attend. I consider myself part of a brotherhood and sisterhood of many hardworking artists in the theater, and when one of us gets singled out and given an honor, in a way we all have been.
Doubt, subtitled A Parable, is a tightly spun drama set at a Bronx Catholic school in the mid-60s where a priest is accused of inappropriate behavior with one of the students. A stern, iron-willed nun suspects and is convinced of the priest's wrongdoing and sets out to destroy his career at the school. For John Patrick Shanley, the inspiration for the play was culled from his days at Catholic school at St. Anthony's in the Bronx, and in a sense pays homage to his time and experience with the Sisters of Charity. But also the playwright used topical issues as a frame of reference. A reference that the playwright used on broader terms beyond the church scandals.
There's no need to write a play that condemns abuse of children by the clergy. We all sort of get that. There's other issues that are more subtle and more provocative to me, and that's a backdrop to deal with those issues.
Shanley received an Academy Award for his screenplay for the 1987 film Moonstruck, but this is his first significant theater award. Doubt stars Tony Award winners Cherry Jones and Brian F. O'Byrne. Clover Lalehzar, New York 1. With 14 openings last month alone, the lazy days of summer will be anything but. So what's causing the craze? London theater critic Matt Wolfe says much of it is about the work.
London continues to be a magnet. People want to come and act here. So we've got Val Kilmer starting performances towards the end of the month, and The Postman Always Rings Twice, and that will be, of course, his West End debut. We've got David Schwimmer from Friends opening in the world premiere of a new play by Neil LaBute. So, you know, these American film stars or television stars don't fade away. They come to the London stage.
This is not to say that the UK doesn't have its share of its own stars and productions. The British musical is reclaiming its perch. The Big Life, the first ever black musical in London's West End, and Sir Elton John's musical Billy Elliot, based on the 2000 film of the same title, is stepping its way to broad appeal, telling the tale of a working-class boy tiptoeing his way to become a professional ballet dancer. The Sherman Brothers' celebrated tale of Mary Poppins finally makes it to the stage, adapted from the 1964 film starring Julie Andrews. The stage version offers new songs and a slightly different take on Poppins' popular persona. Laura Michelle Kelly explains.
I was a big Julie Andrews fan, and I remember watching Mary Poppins when I was 8 years old and loving it. I remember when she was flying in with her umbrella, the first scene through the wind.
And let's not forget some of the stalwart stagings, like Les Mis, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and now the producers, all making the registers ring. Today, London theater is a melting pot of homegrown productions as well as a wealth of American revivals, new plays, and musicals. On this given block alone, one can see the American canon Death of a Salesman right alongside the new Neil LaBute play. Of course, Piccadilly is taking on New York with a revival of Guys and Dolls, performed by a multinational cast, Scottish film actor Ewan McGregor and our own Jane Krakowski. And on the other side of the theatrical world, to India, Far Pavilions offers up exotic environs inspired by the MMK novel of the same name. So how does one get their hands on a hot ticket? The 200-year-old British ticketing agency has offices at home and abroad to help.
Keith Prowse is a marketing and ticket distribution company, and we specialize in ticketing Americans prior to their departure for the best of London's West End.
In the meantime, you can check the London listings by going to LTG or the London Theatre Guide, found on the web at www.officiallondontheatre.co.uk. In London, Clover Lalehzar, New York 1. The final curtain on Joe Volpe's reign at the Metropolitan Opera has come down. For the past 42 years, he has lent his indomitable touch on all aspects of the Opera House. Starting as an apprentice carpenter in 1964, he quickly moved up the ranks, becoming general manager in 1990. This past Saturday night, the opera bid farewell to Mr. Volpe.
I feel great. I don't have any feelings. It's not bittersweet at all. I'm very happy, proud. And I look forward to the future.
The 5.5-hour gala featured the creme de la creme of the opera's accomplished constituents, Placido Domingo, Renee Fleming, Deborah Voigt, and Samuel Ramey, to name but a few. Domingo did double duty as singer and conductor.
We've done wonderful things together. I was very fortunate to, during his 16 seasons, I opened 12 of them, you know, so we have a wonderful working relation.
And Joe Volpe has many a fond memory.
There were so many highlights. I mean, it was my first opening night, many of the new productions, debuts of singers. I mean, so there were so many things that I have as memories, which is quite wonderful.
And the lovely memories seem to extend to any and all that worked with him. International star soprano Renee Fleming's initial reaction to Volpe's departure was a little surprising.
When I first heard that he was leaving a year ago or so, or a year and a half ago, I said, well, if you leave, I have to retire. So, but I've had plenty of time to get used to the idea. I'm very excited about Peter Gelb and all of the exciting things he's bringing to the Met. And Joe is going on probably to bigger and better things.
The night was bittersweet for leading soprano Deborah Voigt as well.
Well, it's very nostalgic. I've been singing at the Met for about 15 years, and I've only ever known Joe Volpe. So I'm feeling a little bit sad, you know, to see him leaving us. But I'm sure he's going to go on to do some really interesting things.
And while many of the fans of Joe Volpe were sad for him to go, he did leave at the top of his game.
How wonderful to finish in good health, and because you want it and you want to do something else in life. That's beautiful. Congratulations to Mr. Volpe.
Advice for my successor: don't ever give up, because it's a rough road.
And while one career for Mr. Volpe has come to an end, another as an author is just beginning. with his Metropolitan Opera memoirs, The Toughest Show on Earth. At the Met Opera, Clover Lalehzar, New York 1.